There's the man himself, Justin. How you doing, Justin?
Trustee Damon. 7 yes, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 5, approval of the January 12th, 2023 agenda. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve the January 12th, 2023 agenda as submitted. So moved.
Support.
Greenman, Beamish. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Clerk Bracco, yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Hires.
Yes.
Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Damon.
Yes.
Supervisor Jones.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Thank you. Item number 6, approval of the December 8th, 2022 minutes. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve the December 8th, 2022 minutes as submitted.
Support.
Greenman, Beamish. Any discussion on the minutes?
These are January 3rd.
No, this was the 20, this is from last month. We'll do those
The
next. Okay. No discussion, roll call?
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Damon.
Yes.
Supervisor Jones. Yes. Clerk Bracco. Yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Hires. Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, next is approval of the January 3rd, 2023 special meeting minutes. We'll do those first and then we'll do the closed session. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve the January 3rd, 2023, if you have the first printed copy, 2023 special meeting minutes as submitted. And in your packet,
Ask her to speak up.
Hello.
Tell her we can't hear.
Greenwood. Any discussion on those? Seeing none, roll call?
Trustee Damon.
Yes.
Supervisor Jones.
Yes.
Clerk Bracco, yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Hires.
Yes.
Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, and then next we have approval of those, the closed session minutes, which were a part of the special meeting on January 3rd. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve the January 3rd closed session minutes as submitted. And we have got to pass those out.
This was moving.
Fair.
Okay, so who was moving?
I move.
Beamish, Damon. Questions on those? Okay. Seeing none, roll call?
Supervisor Jones.
Yes.
Clerk Bracco, yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Hires.
Yes.
Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Damon.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Thank you. Number 9 is public comment. And the first public comment of the evening is on agenda items only. The only items that are on the agenda will be, you can speak on any of those items at this time. And then at the end of the meeting, there's a public comment where you can speak on anything. Okay, it can be outside of the agenda. And because we have quite a few new people here tonight, and I'm not sure there are enough copies of the Charter Township's rules for public comment and decorum, I'm just gonna point out a few of those. I will recognize all persons wishing to speak during public comment. No person shall address the township board without first being recognized. To provide for orderly public comment, each public comment submitted to the board made by an individual shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration, unless extended by agreement of the presiding member of the board. You will address from the podium, you will address the presiding member of the board, that's me. Public comment is not a question and answer period. It provides you an opportunity to express concerns and opinions and questions to the board. No demonstrations during or at the conclusion of anyone's remarks or presentations. And the township board authorizes the supervisor to A, interrupt, warn, or terminate an individual's public comment when the comment exceeds 3 minutes. request that any individual leave the meeting and or request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of such individual when such individual's conduct is a breach of the peace by interfering with the orderly progress of the meeting pursuant to MCL 15.2636 of the Open Meetings Act, and call for a recess or an adjournment to another time if an individual's lack of public decorum creates an environment in which the board is unable to conduct the business before it. Okay? Would anyone like to address the board this evening? Mr. Schatz?
May I have extended time?
No. We have a large group here tonight, Mr. Schatz.
On the agenda items tonight, first of all, I'd like to speak for the whole township and say, I feel like we were lied to. When CEI first came and made the very first presentation here, I asked if it was ethical for them to be getting a no-bid contract, which they were in line to benefit from it being expanded if they so suggested that it should be. And since that time, that all those concerns were ignored. They were given the contract with no competitive bids. They did suggest an expanded role for themselves, and now are enjoying the profits from such. We were lied to, straight out. And now I suppose we'll hear what else he has to say, and I guess we know how much we can believe it, what he's gonna say tonight, based on previous history. I also think your motion to pay for the trustees' lawyer bills is reprehensible. It's the most classist, elitist, un-American thing I've ever heard of. The MCL suggested in the resolution apparently have no relevance to this situation. They don't mention township government or a trustee. They mention officers and employees who are acting in the scope of their duties. I've never heard of a township trustee's duties including manhandling the citizens when they don't agree with their First Amendment rights.
Here, here.
This board has become beyond
Tired.
unrepresentative of the people. They've become authoritarian and fascist. We'd like to know also how the, excuse me, agenda items only. So on the agenda items only, when we hear from the CEI engineer again tonight, we'd like to know if we're gonna be told the truth. We'd like to know why it is that they're gonna be receiving, it sounds like nearly $1 million from this no-bid contract that they've already received. And you've already promised us repeatedly that it's going to be an ongoing and expanded role. Is it going to be ongoing to be no-bid contract for CEI? I was looking back at the agenda minutes from January of last year when the board members were individually praising the decision to move on with the new law firm and the plans with CEI to expand the sewer and water project. And suddenly now, without a bid, they got the contract.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Schatz. Anyone else like to address the board this evening? During this first public comment time, anyone? Please step to the podium.
Hello, Adam Michael, a former township supervisor here. So I know a lot about the goings on here. To a degree that a lot of the folks in the audience don't. When it comes to the agenda item here, this indemnification. Someone mentioned online as I shared this, and we're discussing it a little bit. They're claiming that this MCL, that you all share the MCL and that you've proven that it's legal in what you're doing. It says that the criminal action is commenced against the officer in the course of his employment. Now, Mr. Dingman in a video openly states the jurisdiction, the authority the department of which he is approaching Mr. Schatz with. He openly states that he's on duty, and just was on duty with the sheriff's department, and that he works for the prosecutor's office, repeats over, I'm with the prosecutor's office. What that has to do with why he's grabbing him and holding his arm is beyond me. And as Mr. Schatz said, what part of his job as trustee is to physically put his hands on a citizen? Because that's what he did. I mean, these are the things that you all are gonna have to, I mean, I just don't even know what to say. I'm at a loss for words, guys. I'm at a loss for words. This is just so egregious that you would think that he was somehow in a correct action in his duty, in what he was doing. You better be voting this down. I mean, mind-boggling that you think that any one of you in your position of government should be able to grab somebody because you don't like that they're recording them. You realize that we said we have to record you all because of actions like he did. The action that he took is tyrannical. When government thinks that they can get away and then you all back him up on it. That is tyrannical.
Absolutely.
When people continue to make noises in the audience and you don't actually gavel them, but then you have someone arrested for whispering to his phone, that's tyrannical, like we said.
Point of order, this is not an agenda item.
It is on the agenda item because it's describing your tyranny and the reason why you need to vote against the item on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Pipela. Any other member of the public who would like to address the board this evening? Anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Van
Oh,
Goldham?
and by the way, I'm sorry, we're over capacity in this room, by the way. That's what I should have started with, and I need Chief to understand that we're at over
Mr. Heigl,
54.
please sit down.
Thank you. Well, we need a point of
Mr.
order
Heigl?
and safety on that.
You'll be the next to leave, and then there'll be another chair available. Mr. Van Goldham, please.
Peter Rango, 650 Linwood Avenue. I was the last person the trustee Digman spoke with before, call it an incident on that wonderful Monday morning. And I was eyewitness, and I expected the subpoena to testify for what I saw, so I don't need to bring up what I saw here. I addressed this board that day, and I told you what I thought of you, and the fact that you were not innocent in this. Your silence since then on the matter has showed you've done absolutely nothing to mitigate this. You could have mitigated before it developed into what it was. It was vigilante justice, and you've done nothing. So you deserve everything that's coming at you, and it's just shameful that you spend money on this person. But I respect. I voted for him for supervisor. I had voted for him as trustee. I looked at him until that day as a respectable law enforcement officer, and now I see a thug with a badge.
Here, here.
Thank you for your comments, Mr.
Here.
Van Goldham. Anyone else wish to
Absolutely.
address the board this evening? Anyone else during this first public comment time? Anyone? Okay, we'll move forward. Next on the agenda is the communications number 10, a list of everything that's in your packet for this evening. Pretty self-explanatory. And then we have next on the presentation, we have presentation on the River Road Water Project update with Senior Engineer Randy Ramsey. He's going to do a PowerPoint for us. There were some of the PowerPoint presentations available on the table outside. Sure we don't have quite enough. Okay. Thank you, Randy.
What I'm here to do tonight is just give you a quick update on where the River Road Water Project is. And then, of course, answer questions. So, hopefully everybody from the board at least has a PowerPoint copy. I wanna talk about some project background. It might be redundant for most board members, but I think it'd be good to give some background on the project. Talk about the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Loan Program, which I'm gonna call the SRF, just to speed things up. Talk about where we're at with the preliminary design right now, and then a tentative schedule. I think a lot of people haven't seen the schedule that's been set up so far, so I think it'd be good to go over that. So, a little over a year ago, the township board was approached with issues along River Road, about PFAS contamination in the drinking water wells. And PFAS is a newer type contaminant. Technology is just getting better and better to be able to test for it. So they have titled that an emerging contaminant. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But they're actually test results and samples from wells in that area that tested not only positive for PFAS, but also exceeded the maximum contaminant levels that the EPA has set up. So the state health department, the EGLE, which is the Environment, Great Lakes and Energy Department, and the Calhoun County Public Health Department have all been watching this. They're all aware of these samples. So the township board at the time started to search for ways to try and figure out a solution to this problem. And they asked us to help, and the research that we did, pretty much the only thing that was gonna help that wasn't gonna be 100% cost for the township was the SRF program. So we started the application, the initial application for that process, and one of the first things that needed to happen was you have to prepare what's called a project plan. It's pretty defined from EGLE how you prepare that. And then one of the requirements is that project plan gets presented at a public hearing, which we did June 27th of last year. And so we're continuing on with that application process. And the next step would be for the board to pass a resolution with an intent to secure a bond. So basically that just lets you public notice that you have the intent to secure a bond. And I'm gonna talk more about the bond here in a second because it's kind of confusing with this program in the state that it's in right now. But the SRF program it's an existing low interest loan program that helps communities solve public water problems. The township is applying for that loan, through that program. It qualifies for a 100% loan forgiveness, basically a grant. But because it's a loan program, you have to go through all of the steps that you would have to go through to get a loan, even though you're not gonna be paying anything back, nor charged interest for it. The reason for that is that you may have heard of the bipartisan infrastructure law that was passed. It brought a bunch of money into the states to work on infrastructure projects, and I think 55 billion of that was put towards clean water stuff, drinking water stuff. And what the federal government decided to do was, if we're gonna influx all this money for infrastructure into the states, the best way we can do that is to put it into a program that's already in existence so that it can go right out to projects. That's why this is a loan program, but yet some projects qualify for 100% forgiveness, which Bedford Township did. Through the initial application process, EGLE scored all of the projects that came in, hundreds of them, and this particular project scored in the top 10 out of all of those. And it has the PFAS component to it, so that allowed the EGLE to approve a 100% loan forgiveness because of the emerging contaminant. So we're, again, going through the application process. We've started what's called, the acronym SHPO, which stands for State Historic Preservation Offices. And then the THPO is the Tribal Historic Preservation Offices. Threatened and endangered species, we have to get clearances from all of those folks. We have lots of permits that we have to get, but right now, we're kind of going through negotiating permits at the same time as doing design for the water main project. So let me jump into where we're at with the preliminary design phase of this project. We're currently doing what's called topographic survey, so that's where we come out and survey the physical features of the land and the path that the water main's gonna follow. And then we're also having soil borings done so that we know what the soils are like underground. One of the key components of this project is what's under the river, because at the north end of the project, we intend to do what's called a directional drill underneath the river. And we need to have the right kind of soils to be able to do that, namely not have bedrock. Those borings are done. We haven't seen the results. They just got done Friday, I think, so we're anxious to see the results of that. We're also selecting an alignment. So we've worked with the city of Battle Creek and the road department, Calhoun County Road Department, to see where at in the road right of way we can put the water main. We've obviously got huge trees out there. We have gas mains, we have power poles. There's a linear park for part of the project, so we're nailing down exactly the path that this water main's gonna take. So that's kind of the next step. Now, again, we're negotiating permits. We have to get 2 permits from Eagle and 2 permits from the county. And the next step in the design phase then will be to move into what we call final design, where we have an alignment, we start to nail down the details and all the specifications and develop a list of pay items so that we can create bid documents and ultimately bid the project. So that's where we're at. Here's the tentative schedule. There's a lot of other milestones in the schedule, but I think these are some of the big ones that would be helpful. May 19th, we need to get the final approval from Eagle of the project plan. So this is the project plan that we have here in July of '22. They're having us do some tweaking to it. There's nothing really significant, just adding some stuff to it. So I don't see any issue with that approval. June 30th, we're supposed to bid the project. And then in August, there would be a closing for, and I put in quotes, loan, with the Michigan Finance Authority. So again, these are all procedures that have to take place to be part of this program. And it's unique because this is the first year that there was this kind of an influx, so this loan is 100% forgiven. It's gonna look a lot like a grant, is how it'll be administered. And then construction wouldn't begin until October of '23. So there's a lot of things that have to happen before construction can actually start, but, so that's a quick summary of where we're at. You want to do questions?
Your board questions first. Any questions from the board?
How would you expect the duration of construction?
I would look for it to be done towards the end of next summer. I think that's general enough. We'll know a lot more once we get the plans done and the soil borings back in place. The game plan right now, what we've got negotiated, or at least confirmed, is we're gonna put the pipe 12 foot off the center of the pavement. And what that'll allow us to do is put the pipe in, still leave a little bit of existing pavement from the center line over towards the pipe. And then when that's all said and done, they'll saw cut right down the middle of the road and then put a new road. Half the road will be brand new, and then we're gonna cap over the whole thing when we're done. So the whole road will look new. We haven't confirmed that with the road department yet, but that, we would expect them to like that solution, so.
Any other questions, board questions? Gary?
So, I know one of the uneasy things is the 100% forgiveness. Do we have any kind of documentation to show that, I guess the uneasy thing is it actually going to happen, which that's the premise that we started this with, that, 100% would be forgiven, and it looked like at some point that would be, reneged on and we would cancel the project. So our residents have valid concerns that that's gonna get, 100% forgiven, that this isn't gonna be, taxpayer dollars getting spent, even though it's a necessary project, but, do we have any kind of a documentation that we have to show that?
We have, meeting minutes and emails. It's also in the resolution that's gonna be considered tonight. So and Eagle knows, it's been repeated many times to them, that it just can't happen if it isn't 100%.
Because that's something we can hold their feet to the fire on.
We have emails, and we did, there was concern brought up, I think, by Treasurer Miller at one point, sent out an email to all the board members about whether or not we would be paying interest on this loan, quote unquote. And I confirmed with John Barton from the Michigan Department of Treasury and in the finance township will not be paying any interest for this project's bond because it's a different bond from typical infrastructure projects because of the state revolving fund program. And so basically, the township will be making draws for work completed, and then those amounts are forgiven at the same time. That's in writing by the Michigan Finance Authority. There's two gentlemen that we can contact about that, Mr. Barton and Mr. Boyne, and I have their numbers. And at any time, if this starts falling apart, we still are backing out. And that's in our original resolution that we signed back in June, that we added that clause, that if this is not 100%, if this $5.1 million is 100% loan forgiven, we're going through with it with no interest. Otherwise, we're not. So what went out in terms of scaring the public and in terms of raising taxes was not accurate. And it was used to gin up kind of animus towards the board, in my opinion. So I wanna put that to bed right now, that we've done our due diligence, I think, on that, we've got the names of the finance authority, and I think, yes.
The other question, it may not be for CDI, but just for the board to consider. At least one of the residents, all the residents that came for that project from that road were supportive of it.
Yes.
The one lady, I remember, she was concerned about hookup costs. So is there something where we can, I know we can't cover it, but is there something where we could put onto their tax bills, over time, or some way that we can assist the residents that may have financial issues with hooking up?
Typically, projects like this, grant or loan forgiveness or low interest loan would only pay to what's called the shut-off, which is at the road right-of-way line. They told us that because contamination is related to this, that they will fund all the way up to the home. The city has some meter fees, like they charge I can't remember exactly what it is, but they charge a meter fee initially to put it in and to hook it up. We will attempt to see if they'll pay for that. That is the plan. Now, I don't know whether they will or not, they being Eagle and the SRML people, but it's pretty minimal compared to what a typical project like this would be.
Yeah, I think we had come up with, at that first presentation, you had mentioned, probably around $670.
Yeah, I think that's the meter.
Yeah, $610 for the meter, 5/8-inch meter, and then a $60 one-time fee for that meter setting. And so we were looking at ways to explore possibly finding other grant money or dollars to help people who are struggling with that hookup fee. But taking it all the way up to the house is really a benefit, I think,
Yeah,
for those
it
individuals.
takes it from thousands of dollars to hundreds.
Yes. Okay, and then any public comments for, Mr. Ramsey?
Yeah.
Mr. Schatz?
Mr. Ramsey?
Yep.
I just have a multi-part question a little bit. First of all, I'd like to know, does Bedford Township pay your company on a regular ongoing basis? And if so, how much?
For our services
And-
provided, it's based on an hourly rate.
Is there an approximate amount that we pay you annually?
No, it would change completely every year's.
But we pay you every month?
This is, we're talking about do you have questions about the River
Yes,
Road Water
yes, I
Project,
do.
Mr. Schatz?
I would-
About the River Road
that's-
Water Project?
That's where I was basing that off of, is if we were already paying you on the ongoing basis, that was my original concern, was that your company being able to give an opinion to the board about whether or not they should go forward with a project that puts your company then again in line to be essentially the construction management operation for this project, profiting, I think, somewhere around $1 million. So my main question would be, why do you get all this money with no competitive bids?
Well, we certainly don't anticipate profiting on $1 million. We have hourly rates, just like all engineering firms do, and they cover all of our overhead costs, our employees, et cetera. There is usually profit built into it, but it's not 100%. It is very rare to bid professional engineering services. We don't know, we still, when we see the soil borings, that'll change the scope of the project to some degree, and there's no way we can know those kind of things ahead of time. It's just like an attorney or a doctor or an accountant. It's impossible to give them a scope of services, and that's what you would have to try and estimate an exact amount. So it is uncommon for professional services to be bid.
It's uncommon for
Mr.
professional
Mr.
civils.
Mr. Schatz, that was your question. Any other questions for Peter?
Yeah, I do. Actually, first one would be this map. Is it oriented to the north?
Yes.
And that's Kalamazoo River, obviously. So this, what is that white rectangular, I mean, it's a roof of a building. What
Yeah,
building is that?
that's the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, yeah, I know exactly what
That's
this
the
is.
dry-
And this is gonna serve what area?
So you see where the yellow line curves? That's
Yeah.
River Road. There's existing public water main there. And then if you go to the far right side and follow that white line up to the river, on the other side of the river, Jackson Street has got water main. We're gonna connect those two so that the water main will be
Okay.
looped, that'll be a
And that
requirement.
curved street all the way to the upper right-hand side, would that be,
Jackson.
Jackson becomes, I forget.
String.
String, so
Yeah.
that's gonna go up into Urbandale. And is this somehow connected with the city of Battle Creek? Are they managing the water system once it's in?
Yes, in Bedford Township, the city manages the water system.
We've had a contract with them since 1998, I believe.
Well, we're expanding, so we're.
Won't they be owning it? Won't we be giving it to them?
Mr. Schatz, you haven't been recognized. Go ahead, Peter.
Okay, well, thank you, anyway, that's.
All right, thank you, Mr.
I have more questions, ma'am. Is there a limit?
Yes, there are. Any other questions? Any other questions about the River Road Water Project?
Yes. I have a question about the River Road
You've got your
project, ma'am.
question answered, and now we're gonna move on to the reports. Number 12, reports. Finance is the first report. Mr. Ramsey, if you don't wanna stay, feel free to have your question.
Okay. What I said about the police.
Unbelievable.
Thank
What?
you.
I didn't hear you.
Oh, I,
Thank you. Okay, A, under reports is finance. This is resolution 1/12/2301. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve payment of expenses totaling $349,081.48. Do I have a motion? Damon? Second? Byers? Discussion. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call?
Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Hires. Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dayton.
Yes.
Supervisor Jones.
Yes.
Clerk Bronco, yes. 7 yes, motion carried.
Thank you. Next, we have our public health and safety reports. First, we have Officer LaValle.
All right, so I'm Officer LaValle. I'm one of the Bedford Township officers that contracts with the city of Battle Creek. I primarily work night shift for the township. Just want to go over a few incidents that occurred this past month in the township. We had overall 348 calls for service in the township, as well as double digits of numbers on arrest. That's consist of domestic arrests, warrants arrests, weapons offense arrests, and operating while intoxicated arrests as well. We had a breaking and entering with forced entry incident that happened on North Washington Ave and Morgan Road. At this time, it's still under investigation, unknown suspects, but purses and shoes were stolen from that residence. We had a few larcenies of catalytic converters stolen off cars in the area of Collier Road and West Michigan Avenue. So I would recommend, if you guys have garages, to park their vehicles in the garage. Alright. We did have a possible hostage incident that occurred on East Birdsell Street. There was a male individual holding a female individual hostage for approximately 24 hours. We were able to place the male individual in custody, and he was arrested on multiple felony warrants for that incident. We did have an officer-involved shooting that occurred on North Birdsell Drive, right when the East Birdsell Drive incident was happening. And that incident is still ongoing investigation that is being handled by the Michigan State Police currently. Any questions, any concerns for the last month, or? It was a busy month, it looks like.
Yes, ma'am, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I made a report here to you at the township about someone making a false accusation against me. I was wondering if you submitted that report to the prosecutor's office.
I will have to get back with you on that.
I see.
Wow.
Any other questions?
I have to get back with you.
Officer LaValle? No other questions? Thank you, Officer LaValle. Next we have, Chief Hokensberger, fire reports.
Unbelievable.
Last year, on our runs and stuff, was 1,082 runs. Out of that, there was 803 medicals, so it leaves 279 other runs that we made. Well, medicals is pretty well going pretty good in the township here still. This month it's already started off pretty good, so, that's all I can tell you on it. The other request I got right now, I'd like to have the board take a count of the people in this room in there to see the capacity is 54, and see if we're over it. If we're over it, somebody's gotta go.
We're at 6.
It's over 6.
You want us to count?
Yes.
Go ahead and count then.
You're gonna force someone to leave, we should be moving to the bigger venue,
I
guys.
got the fire back.
That's what we should have done from the beginning, it was at
We
capacity
count?
at the beginning.
Sure, and then we'll see if anybody wants to leave.
Wow.
You're more than welcome to be here.
You should have moved into the fire.
We don't need that many cops standing around, they could leave.
That's not necessary. I will gladly go stand in the hallway.
There's nobody,
with you.
there's nobody
I would also
here
like to
doing
voice
anything
my
wrong,
displeasure
ain't
that
that many here.
move on your part.
Jim, Jim, so nice to see you.
Thank you for
Nice to see you. Amanda. It's been Amanda? Yeah.
Hi, Jim. Good, how are you doing?
Good.
How you doing?
Okay, building official Mark Myers.
Again, quite slow, but it's surprising with the warm weather, we're seeing people break ground, or new houses that are putting on today. Another one out of Lynchburg County, some pole barns and stuff. Typically in the middle of January, we would not see that happening, with warm weather and no frost on the ground whatsoever, is kind of pushing some things along, so. There's a little bit more work than normally we would see this time of year, but it's still a slow time of year and won't pick up till about March.
Building and zoning.
I pretty much am just gonna second what Mark said. We're trying to finish closing out any 2022 permits that are still left open. They've been coming in pretty regularly. Thankfully, people are calling and getting those permits finalized. We have had a large influx of new permits for all of the trades, especially at Bedford Hills and Creek Valley, so that's good to see. I don't have a zoning review count for you just because we've been busy enough and I'm doing them all day. So I kind of glossed over that part. And I also have to finish up my continuing education for my master's
several abandoned homes that are coming around, and one of the homes has been abandoned for over 10 years. A lot of break-ins, and the neighbors were complaining. So it took me a while to do some research. The gentleman who owned it passed away many years ago, so I couldn't find the owner. I finally found him in Indiana, and it was his son, and he says, I don't want the home, you can have it. I said, we don't want it, it's gonna cost us $10,000 to have it torn down. And I asked him if he'd be interested in selling it, and he says, sure, it's not worth much, it was bad, this home's just a disaster. Found a realtor, hooked him up, and 2 weeks later, it was sold, and now the man's totally remodeled, so it saved the county a lot of money.
That is a great. Anything else, Mike? Okay. Thank you. And then Assessor Joyce Fellow, thank you for being here.
Sure. I actually would like to defer to next month. I anticipated by the agenda it was going to be a really long meeting, and I can get a little wordy. I would like next month, though, to kind of give a rundown on Proposal A and what it means this year specifically to your taxable value. So I will defer that if I can until next month.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, then Planning Commission, latest on Trustee Beamish.
So we have a meeting coming up on the 27th, I believe at 6:30. We'll elect officers at that meeting. We've got the agenda to review solar and try to get that wrapped up so we can get back to the board by the deadline. We may need an extension on that, but following the timeline forecasting done. So 27th, everybody come out and see the meeting. 24th. That's why you're awesome. 24th. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. The chair.
And it would be nice for McKenna to come. I know he's given an update at your meetings, but it'd be nice to have them kind of get the board and maybe we could do that in February or March, so where we are at this point with, so, okay? Okay, great. And then Parks and Recreation, we have our new president or chair of Danielle Zollner. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you for having me. So I just wanted to report out, we are getting busy again. So our DNR passport grant for improvements to Ski Skirman was not funded, but we came very, very close. We were just within a few points of being funded this year. The reviews have been very helpful and highlighted it will be important to have ownership of the old mill property. Because of this, Supervisor Jones and the rest of the board has been working with the Calhoun County Land Bank to begin the process of acquiring the property and with Grantsmanship Consulting to request support from the South Central Michigan Planning Council to fund the Phase 1 environmental assessment of the old mill property. This organization currently holds an EPA grant to fund environmental assessment work in the region, and it appears that the Planning Council will be recommending the old mill assessment for funding. So that's very good news. And so fingers crossed that this recommendation will ultimately be approved. And thanks to Supervisor Jones for doing the work to move this forward. In November, we worked with the grant writer to submit a pre-proposal application to the DNR Fisheries Habitat Management Grant to address erosion and stream issues along Wabaskin Creek, also in Skeet Skirman Park. We were not invited to submit a full proposal this time, but again, like the passport grant, their feedback has been very helpful, and we're continuing to engage with the DNR. On Monday, we met with our regional DNR fisheries biologists at the park, and they appear to be interested in supporting projects to improve Wabaskin Creek. We will continue to engage with the DNR as well as the grant writer on appropriate funding mechanisms for this work as we move forward. I was also able to deposit chili cook-off donations from our fall festival in the amount of $131 with the treasurer on Monday, the 9th, just this past Monday. So thank you to our 35 or so donating judges. We can't wait for the next contest at our 2023 fall festival and hope to see you all there in September. We are working with the treasurer to create an effective deposit and accounting strategy for committee fundraising dollars. And we're also working with the township to draft our county millage, our 2022 report for the county millage dollars that we received, and then do a 2023 request for funding. A final draft will be submitted for approval at the next board meeting, so the February board meeting, and then will be submitted to the county by the February 15th deadline. At the meeting on Monday, January 9th, unfortunately, we did not have a quorum because only 3 of 7 members were able to attend. We ended up spending our time discussing items with public participants. In February, we will discuss and approve an event calendar for the year, and then share this with everyone on our Facebook group page and at the board meeting in March. So be looking for that. Karen Scullion has asked to step down from the committee, and we have asked Nika McCarty to join our committee. We thank Karen for her service, and we're very happy to hear that she will still be involved as a volunteer. And we're excited to have Nika join the committee, and her appointment will be formalized at the next board meeting, possibly with another member. Our next meeting will be held on Monday, February 13th at 6 p.m., just here in the township offices. We will be approving our November and December minutes, approving our event calendar for 2023, and discussing additional priorities for park improvements at that time. If you're interested in keeping up on what's going on with the committee or volunteering to help with events, please, I encourage you to join our Bedford Charter Township Parks and Rec Facebook group. It's just a public group that we have going to kind of keep things, keep everybody informed on what's been going on and keep up on dates and ways to get involved. So please feel free to join that. And we are still continuing on with the survey and have nearly 90 responses recorded at this time. But we would still like to capture a larger proportion of residents' thoughts as we are working to improve the park resources in the community. So please, if you have not filled out our survey already, before you leave here tonight, take out your phone and put it like you are going to take a photograph, and just walk up to that QR code there that's posted on the back whiteboard. And if you just shoot your camera at it, it will automatically pull up the link, and you just hit that link and you can fill it out digitally. Depending on how many comments you might have, it should only take you anywhere from like 5 to 10 minutes maximum. So thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Any questions for Galen? All right, great, thank you.
I do have to scoot out.
Oh,
I don't want to come, so.
Hey, you can send somebody else back in.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Okay, very good, thank you. Number 13 is unfinished business, and we just have under here just an update on the superintendent manager. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the legislature. Sorry about that. I shouldn't have done that. And Steve Frisbee. So, Representative Hansel, would you like to address the board?
Thank you, Supervisor Jones and board members and members of the public. The 102nd Legislature just convened yesterday by Constitution. It convenes on the second Wednesday at noon after an even numbered election. So we started yesterday. Committee assignments obtained today. A few bills dropped yesterday. And I expect a lot of work that will happen in the next, well, actually the whole next 2 years. But it was just the start of that yesterday in the Michigan House and Michigan State. So nothing additionally really to report, except we started yesterday, some bills are dropped and committee assignments are made. I will be chair of the Labor Committee in the State House, chair of the Joint Commission on Administrative Rules, and I too will be on Health Policy Committee. Thank you.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Good evening. Our only business was the organizational meeting. Small agenda after that. Captain Suzetti was elected as the chair for a 2-year term, and I was elected as the vice chair for a 1-year term. So moving forward, our biggest next amount of work is committee assignments, much like at the state. We have about 50 to dole out amongst all the commissioners, so it's not every other Thursday that we do our job. It's quite a few other committees behind the scenes, so I'll let you know which ones I'm assigned to again moving forward. If there's any questions from anybody else, anything.
Any questions?
Kathy, see that?
I got a little question. There's some word about the roads fund being cut. Know anything about that? Like something about $1,000 between 9 townships, anything like that?
So there was a plan discussed, it was the policy 509, where we opened it up for input, and they talked about $100,000 every other year per township as a possibility. That was pretty across the board, not thought highly of. So they're retooling 509 from their inputs in that meeting at the township level, and we'll bring it back to them once it's ready. Cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Now, next is the unfinished business, and this is just an informational update, for discussion about where we are with superintendent actually is what we're focused on. And trustee Hires and Clerk Baraco are kind of taking the lead on this. Do you want to just give a brief update?
So we have approximately 10 applications, and I wouldn't say all of them are viable, but we have 10. And we plan to, go through them and then pick out maybe the top 5 to interview. We're keeping the applications open, keeping the process open until the end of the month.
And that'll be a public interview.
Right.
Early next year.
Correct.
I know we've advertised in the MTA. I think there was posting that was going out to Western Michigan University for their public administration. There was a shopper ad, and then ZipRecruiter and Indeed, Indeed.com, I believe. So we've tried to get it out there, but I think there's probably nothing better than word of mouth. So if you know people who are in municipal government or who have municipal government experience, have that skill set, please direct them to either Clerk Baraco or to our website where that job is, or that application is posted. Okay, thank you. And then petitions and new business, number 14, we'll start with resolution 1/12/2302. This is resolution authorizing publication of notice of intent to issue capital improvement bonds and declaring intent to reimburse. And these are the drinking water state revolving fund bonds, DWSRF. And I'll read this, it's long. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Bedford Charter Township, County of Calhoun, State of Michigan, determines that it is necessary for the public health, safety, and welfare of the township to provide safe drinking water to an area recently discovered to have PFAS contamination in the groundwater where the existing private wells are located, by acquiring and constructing a public water main together with all necessary interests in land and all related sites, structures, equipment, appurtenances, and attachments thereto the project. And whereas the section 517 of Revised Municipal Finance Act, Act 34, Public Acts of Michigan, 2001, as amended, provides a means for a township to finance the cost of capital improvements such as the project. And whereas the project qualifies for the State of Michigan Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Financing Program, administered by the Michigan Finance Authority and the Michigan Department of Environmental, Great Lakes, and Energy. And whereas the township has applied for financial assistance to acquire and construct the project through the DWSRF program, and the township has been advised that it is eligible to receive a loan of up to $5.1 million with 100% of the principal borrowed, qualifying for principal forgiveness. And whereas in order to receive the financial assistance through the DWSRF program, the township will need to issue bonds in a total amount not to exceed $5.1 million. And a notice of intent to issue the bonds must be published before the issuance of the bonds in order to comply with the requirements of section 517 of Act 34. And whereas the township intends at this time to state its intentions to be reimbursed from proceeds of the bonds for any expenditures undertaken by the township for the project prior to issuance of the bonds. Now, therefore be it resolved that The township clerk is authorized and directed to publish a notice of intent to issue the bonds in the Battle Creek Shopper News, a newspaper of general circulation for the township. Number two, the notice of intent shall be published as a one-quarter page display advertisement in substantially the following form. And then there is an attachment in your packet of just laying it out, what it looks like. Okay, so can I have a motion for this? Okay, Greenwood and Hires. Okay, discussion? Any discussion, were the questions answered in terms of 100% funding? No interest, okay, no interest, 100% funding, okay.
Just a draw on it.
It draws as like as if you're doing a project. Okay, all right, seeing none, roll call?
Trustee Hires. Trustee Beamer.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood. Yes. Trustee Demon.
Yes.
Supervisor Jones.
Yes.
Clerk Baraco, yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Thank you, and then resolution 1/12/2303, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to reappoint Karen Scullion and Stacia Thorson to the zoning board of appeals with terms expiring on December 31st, 2025. Beamish, Freeman, discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call?
Trustee Beamer.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood. Yes. Trustee Demon. Supervisor Jones.
Yes.
Clerk Baraco. Yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Hires.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, resolution 1/12/2304, resolution to indemnify trustee Craig Dingley for criminal defense attorney expenses. Trustee Beamish,
Whereas Craig Beeman is a trustee of Bedford Charter Township, whereas on or around January 4th, 2023, Craig Beeman was charged with 1 count of assault and battery pursuant to MCL 750.81 by the Eaton County Prosecutor's Office, which will be prosecuted in the Calhoun County 10th District Court, case number C-230025. Whereas Craig Beeman, as township trustee, may be entitled to insurance defense in this matter has been submitted to its insurance adjuster for review. Whereas MCL 691.1408 provides that if a criminal action is commenced against an officer or employee of a governmental agency based on the conduct of the officer or employee in the course of the employment, if the employee or officer had a reasonable basis for believing that he or she was acting within the scope of his or her authority at the time of the alleged conduct, the governmental agency may pay for, engage, or furnish the services of an attorney to advise the officer or employee as to the action and to appear for and represent the officer or employee in the action. An officer or employee who has incurred legal expense after December 31st, 1975 for conduct described in this subsection may obtain reimbursement for those expenses under this subsection MCL 691.1408. Whereas MCL 691.1408 provides that a governmental agency may pay for, engage, or furnish the services of an attorney to advise an officer, employee, or volunteer of the governmental agency and to appear for and represent the officer, employee, or volunteer in connection with civil or criminal litigation or an investigation or proceeding if the litigation, investigation, or proceeding involves the officer, employee, or volunteer as a result of his or her conduct in the course of employment with or actions taken on behalf of the governmental agency, subject to the following limitations. If a claim is made or a civil action is commenced against the officer, employee, or volunteer, subsection 1 of this section governs the governmental agency's authority to pay for, engage, or furnish the services of an attorney to advise the officer, employee, or volunteer as to the claim and to appear for and represent the officer, employee, or volunteer in the action. B, if a criminal action is commenced against the officer, employee, or volunteer, subsection 2 of this section governs the governmental agency's authority to pay for, engage, or furnish the services of an attorney to advise the officer, employee, or volunteer as to the action and to appear for and represent the officer, employee, or volunteer in the action. Whereas Township Board of Trustees determined that trustee Dingman was acting within the scope of his duties of township trustee on July 25th, 2022, which resulted in the aforementioned criminal charge of assault and battery and indemnification to pay for, engage, and furnish the services of a criminal defense attorney, the representation of trustee Dingman in the criminal litigation and or proceedings is authorized by law and appropriate. Whereas Bedford Charter Township will provide an attorney to trustee Dingman in the event that the insurance company does not do so, and shall indemnify trustee Dingman to, under MCL 691.1408, and now therefore be it resolved as follows. MCL 691.1408 authorizes a governmental agency to pay for, engage, or furnish the services of an attorney to advise an officer of the governmental agency and to appear for and represent the officer, employee, or volunteer in connection with the criminal litigation, because the litigation or proceeding involved a trustee as a result of his conduct in the course of his role, duties in an amount not to exceed $6,000. I so move.
Moved by Beamish, support by Hires, discussion. Any discussion?
Yeah, I wanted to scrutinize the language, in particular, whether he was in performance of his duties at the time. So I did some research looking into it, and he was here 15 minutes prior. There was a citizen redressing a grievance. I don't feel it's our decision to determine whether he's innocent or guilty, only whether he was performing within the scope of his duties. And by that fact, I feel like that's been met.
I would say the opposite, and for the exact reasons the residents said. I don't want any one of us putting our hands on anybody else, and I don't think anywhere written in any scope of duties is that statement.
I don't think that any of us, including the treasurer, were out in the parking lot at the time of the disturbance. What I think happened, and it will come out in a court case, and I look forward, very much forward to testifying, about how traumatized the people who, as they arrived at the office for that morning meeting, how traumatized they were by what we were seeing and what we were not expecting. We did not have a security guard here at the time. We did not have police officers here at the time. And, basically, we ended up shut in our office and afraid. So I think, I do believe that there was work done by one of our trustees to de-escalate the situation. I think he went into a mode of his training, of his experience, and he worked outside to try to de-escalate the situation. Everyone outside will have to testify in court tomorrow. And they'll testify on oath that they're telling the truth. And we will too. And so I'm grateful, actually. I look forward to testifying. I'm grateful. I'm gonna take a very proud vote on this and stand by a trustee who was doing what in his mind was going to work to de-escalate the situation. Because we did not know what we were about to face with about 7 angry armed men at our offices. And that's why I will be voting a strong yes on this. That's my stand. Anybody else?
Point of clarification, there's a 2.5-minute video that you can watch before you vote on something that you haven't watched the evidence for. And in fact, you have access to the security cameras, and I'm quite sure you've watched the video.
I will stand by my statement.
Wow.
I will stand by my statement. Comfortable with my statement. Anybody else like to make any statement?
So I think that, people get the opportunity to have feelings, like we feel. I can't tell you how Barry's feeling, I can't tell you how Craig's feeling, I can't tell you how Joni's feeling, but I can tell you how I felt that day. that was a scary day. That might not be your feeling, that was my feeling. And, the amount of animosity that was felt, that we felt, the energy, that, we were already afraid going into this, meaning we had hired a security guard, he wasn't here yet. We were in the process of getting the, doors closed into windows, so we didn't feel comfortable. And, my feelings were, I was afraid. Again, might not be yours, that's mine, those are true feelings to me. And, I wasn't in the parking lot, can't speak to that. But I do know the security guard wasn't here, I do know the police weren't here yet, and, 7:30 in the morning, it was
traumatizing.
Yeah, it was.
We're all testifying to that. So, any other comments by board members?
Just another point of clarification, I was in the office with Joyce when we watched the video together.
Which video are you referring to?
That was all.
And there is also
It would be an alleged
previous
assault.
recording of trustee Beeman within the township addressing an issue with a resident within his scope of duties before he stepped outside, and that needs to be notified as well.
I think your timeline's backwards.
No, that was in the writing.
Well, this will all be discussed, this isn't really what we're talking about right now. So, trustee Beamish?
Call the question.
Okay, so roll call.
Treasurer Miller,
No.
trustee Hires,
Yes.
trustee Beamish,
Absolutely, yes.
trustee Greenwood,
Yes.
trustee Bingham, supervisor Jones,
Yes.
clerk Baraco, yes. So five yes, one no, one abstain. Motion carried.
Okay, and I would like you to issue that check this evening.
I have to have the double signature.
So, Treasurer Miller will stay after, with clerk, the check for $6,000 to, for, check for the attorney fees. Okay, time for public comment, last public comment of the evening, you can address the board on anything you would wish to address the board on. Who would like to speak? You want, Peter? Please address the board.
I am still Peter Van Gotham, I still live at 650 Linwood Avenue. Used to be in the United States, still 6 months ago. Government does not run on feelings. The police don't act on feelings. We have laws, we have judges, we have county judges, we have state judges, we have federal judges, and then we have the Supreme Court. They determine what can and cannot be posted on social media. That is not decided by the appointed supervisor of Bedford Township. No matter how she feels. It is not her determination, she can't make that law. That is left, it is defined, the judges define the laws. The judges. We haven't found Mr. Schott's videos illegal in any way. We haven't found him responsible for the people who call. You want to prosecute somebody, go after the people who make the phone calls. Not just the shots. And as for Mr. Dingman, I didn't have to watch the video. I was standing right there. About a year ago, I liked being in this township. I liked the board. I voted for most of you sitting at this table. I was happy when they nominated this person to be the supervisor. Her actions since then have been atrocious. Run this as a kangaroo court. You got your vigilante justice.
Clown circus.
This is not a private fiefdom. You are not royalty. None of you. None of you are judges. Thankfully, this is going before a judge. If somebody had guanjis, they would ask for a jury, but I'm certain that that's not going to happen. Right?
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Anyone anyone else wish to address the board this evening? Mr. Schatz?
Wow, I've seldom seen a more despicable, classist, elitist display from government. That's, Ms. Supervisor Jones, that's from Mark Hires, that's from Stacy Greenwood, that's from Joyce Baracco, that's from Barry Beamish, and that's especially from Craig Dingman. You took oaths to protect the people and represent the people in this township, and yet you're choosing to take and steal their money to defend one of your own for assaulting one of the citizens that you oathed yourself to protect. That's classism, that's elitism, that's corruption, that's collusion. I can't believe this attorney isn't ashamed to be here sitting at a table with y'all. He has a bar association.
Please address the board.
I am addressing the board, ma'am. Thank you very much. I think that your actions here tonight are going to spell none of you getting reelected, and you don't deserve it. Because you are a bad supervisor, a bad clerk, and bad trustees. Craig Demon was the only one that salvaged a hair of dignity by abstaining from that vote. The rest of you, what are you thinking? These people here are seeing what you're doing. They saw the video, they know what happened, and they see you declaring that the elite in your class don't have to play by the same rules. The laws about not putting your hands on people don't apply to them, and they don't even have to pay for their legal defense. The peasants will be forced to pay for it, won't we? That's the real message here from the classists who steal public beaches and use it as their own private, supposed beachfront at their home. That's what y'all do. You just make rules for whatever you want. We talked to someone on your lake association board. She went on record as saying how you know you don't pay the taxes for the public land that you steal and use as your beachfront, and you're not going to, because you wealthy folks pay enough taxes already. So when I asked her if she felt that there was any danger that we, the public, might be able to use that public beach around St. Mary's Lake, she scoffed and laughed and said, "No way. Who would dare come in my backyard? Who would dare come sit behind one of our houses?" I heard Joni Jones was complaining about some peasant being out in her private lake in a boat staring with binoculars. How horrible. I'd have her to know that at my public lake at Wabaskin, we have duck hunters blasting metal shot falling on our rooftops when they're duck hunting.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Schatz. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other public comment tonight? Yes, sir, in the back. Please state your name.
Yeah, I'm Jeff. I just wanted to state real quick, as you can see, I can't see very well. And also, I can't hear very well, so if we could get some kind of microphone for the back so that we could hear better, that would be great. Thank you.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work, but thank you. Thank you.
I can bring one. I have a system.
Okay, great. All right, anyone else wish to address the board this evening? Anyone else?
All right, Adam Michaela, forward supervisor. Again, almost at a loss for words here. Not shocked in any way, not surprised that you all voted the way you did, that's why you put it on the agenda. The fact that you will sit up here and tell these lies, Supervisor Jones and Ms. Greenwood, about the timeline and what happened that day. I mean, you're twisted, all right, you're delusional, all right? Delusional is what you are.
Point of order.
On your thoughts and your timeline. So, point of order on you, I guess. Now, she's gonna let it go since she let everything else go tonight, because for some things, she's gonna try to be consistent, it looks like. Because there's inconsistencies. very big inconsistencies going on in the township. I got FOIA requests right now that I can't make heads or tails of. We don't have any idea is how much people are making in the township. We have good faith estimates that are being used to scare people from getting information in the township. And it's all, I have all the evidence, it's gonna be coming out and shared. I was told by Joyce I should come to you, the board, because when I don't get the documents, you, the board, should compel the documents to be released. That's an option, but the other option is gonna be into circuit court. And that's what I told Joyce, but she didn't understand. That's exactly what will happen is going to circuit court now for the denials that have happened and the hiding of information of emails. Mark Heyer sent an email when he resigned from the board. He sent it to everybody. But for some reason now, we're told that those emails no longer exist. I'm told now that the emails between the attorney about that whole situation does not exist. All the other emails, I was told by our clerk, exist from that time. But for some reason, the ones that show that Mr. Mark Hires was contacted by our attorney, and he steps down from his position. Less than an hour after, I told the attorney that I would have to be removing him from one of his positions at the following board meeting. But instead, our attorney decides to communicate with him. But that evidence will come out. Since I said I do have the copies that I saved of my emails, but you will give up. You will be giving, because your server still has it. Whether I have to go through the court and compel you to a forensic audit of your server to get the documents, we'll get the documents. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, anyone else wish to address the board this evening?
Barb Fuller. I live on Lynn Drive. I just want to thank the board for all that you did in 2022, and I know you're looking for a good year in 2023. You guys all have had to put up with a lot, and I do want to say thank you again. Just one thing I would like to see different through the fire department. When Chief gives out his report, I would like it to be, and I'm sure hopefully other people here, would like to see a more detailed report stating that, maybe 5 heart attacks that he went to, or maybe 1 birth, that we have something like that. I would like to see more of a detail through the fire department, like our police department.
Like what those medical responses.
Right, what the medical responses are. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other citizen like to address the board this evening? Yes, sir.
Hi. My name is Max Brundage. I will confess from the beginning, I am not actually a Bedford citizen. I am an illegal immigrant from Marshall. So I came here because I was interested in some things to do with the blight that you've dealt with. I would direct this point of clarification, is that what it's called? I would know Robert's rules if you hit me in the head with it. The homes that you had alluded to, some of which had been demolished, some of which were salvaged by the realtor that had gone on to remodel things. I'm actually a realtor and a home renovations person. So I'm interested in that sort of thing, and I'd heard through various rumors, grapevines, etc., that you had a higher than usual amount of blight as far as homes go, or at least I heard about it happening here. So to that end, I'm interested in that. Is there any sort of public access to what is slated to be potentially demolished?
Do you have, how many have been actually demolished or sold?
One. Only had one, and it was so bad.
Yeah.
That, nobody would want it.
Yeah, and that's fair. I know. There's, I've seen some places that are abyssal, so I do get it. I've worked some miracles before, but not several. So I understand some of them are beyond help, but at times, depending on how ambitious I'm feeling, I might be able to take some on that are potentially available, because I mean, it's less township taxes to be spent on demolition, especially if it's 10 grand plus for demolition.
And we have had homes that have been, you know, have gone to the land bank. You know, first right of refusal here, but have gone to the land bank, correct? So, I mean,
Sure.
and then there's the potential for auction, you know.
Are the land bank homes the ones that are typically the first on the chopping block vis-a-vis blight?
Well, not necessarily, a lot of
Depends on
times.
the
Point of order.
delinquent
This
tenants.
is not that important.
Right, okay. But get with our blight officer if
Sure.
if you're interested.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brundage, for your public comment. Any other public member wishing, Mr. Stein?
Mike Side, 655 Hamilton Road. Lots of negative tonight. Lots of negative. It's not all negative in this township. I know that. I think everybody else here in this room knows that. I would point out that, and we can debate whether Mr. Dingman is innocent, guilty, or who knows what, acting in what capacity until tomorrow morning or the next morning or the next morning, I'm quite certain. And I don't know him from Adam, other than to say that he's, on board. I think it's a great thing what the board approved there, and for this reason and this reason only. The people that are on the board and that are working for the township, and again, we can debate whether he was acting in that capacity appropriately or not, should have legal protections. That's important. I would say to the naysayers, one of which has been on the board before, some precedent has now been set that, if he's ever on the board again, well, then he's got the same legal protections that somebody else has. And I think that's important. Why do I think that's important? Because if you don't have the legal protections, and this isn't about making someone feel like they have the right to do something, put their hands on someone or anything else like that. If you don't have the legal protections, you're not gonna have people that are interested in manning the post. And that's what this is about, manning the post. That's all I got.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, Mike.
Chris Merzick, 118-wheeler. So, speaking of this superintendent job coming up, if we do decide to hire a superintendent, I don't see a reason why Bedford Township needs a supervisor. They're gonna oversee all the other spots and everything else. Why do we need a supervisor at that point? We're gonna be paying somebody to do the same job, basically. So,
While you're there, just so I can clarify this for everyone who's here, it is statutorily, a charter township has a 7-member board, so you always have to have a supervisor. If we go to this model, if we're able to find a good candidate, that candidate takes over the day-to-day operations of the township. And I do not have a salary, I do not have benefits, I basically am the liaison to that person, but I receive a stipend, much like the board does for the monthly meetings. That's it. So you are not, I've heard that through the videos also, just revving people up, like, we're gonna have 2 people that are in 2 salary positions. That is absolutely not true. Let me clear it up right now. That's not true. It is going to something like having a county administrator for the county commission. It's like having a city manager for the city. There are a lot of projects that we have going right now, a lot of balls in the air. We need stability. We need a CEO who's going to be here hopefully and provide that stability through election cycles. We have not had that. I'm the 4th supervisor in 6 years. And all kinds of projects get dropped when there's chaos created. Unfortunately, right now, we have some people who are intentionally creating chaos and turmoil for the township. And I would say, and we've been talking about this, that there is maybe case law for looking into what civilly we can do as a township for individuals who are actively impeding on a daily basis the work of the township. The work of the township that we can't get done for the 9,200 other individuals who we represent. We were voted to represent everyone in this township.
I have one request because the question has been clarified and hoping that he can reclaim his time.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
I completely understand. Where I work at, been there 9 years, where I'm like our 6th managing director, so, I completely understand. But at the same time, we don't need to be paying more people than we need.
And you're not going to be. But, and I'm sorry.
Because it's, I know, because it's our money that's being spent, so.
Well, when I was explaining to you, I thought you were getting ready to leave the podium, so if you need more time,
No,
please.
that's all I have. We don't need to be spending more money in the township.
Believe me, I think everyone up here is very fiscally conservative, and so we're trying to not do that, so, okay. Any other member of the public like to address the board this evening? Anyone else who's here? Yes, sir.
It's kind of disturbing. I
I'm just
appreciate it if you would
stretching my
stop.
feet out, ma'am. Settle down.
I've dealt with it throughout the whole meeting.
Karen. Settle down, Karen. Karen.
My name's Rick. I live at 1260 West Kirby. I just want to kind of echo the gentleman, I believe his name was Mr. Hamilton, and his comments regarding Mr. Damon's case. I also agree that there's a lot of debate about guilt, and I understand that. I think everybody's emotions are high over it, and I understand it. And it sounds like, based on the comments that I've heard up here, you all do too. And so, just as a citizen, just as a person, I think it's important that everyone, including our entire community, takes that into account. That we're all humans, including the people that are sitting here at these tables. You guys are entitled to your emotions and to how you feel on things.
Keep your hands to yourself.
And that's real. I appreciate you, Clerk Farraco, for sharing that. That's important to know. Regardless of anyone's opinions, those are yours, and you get those. The vote wasn't about anyone's guilt. It was simply about representation. And that's what needs to make sure, we need to make sure that's very clear. So I appreciate that. Only other point that I have, these point of order spots where I've seen some of you calling out some of these things, some of these interruptions, and I appreciate that. I know there's a lot of things going on in our community right now that are toxic, and I hope that they don't spread. I know how these things work, and a lot of people. And unfortunately, it's gonna spread both ways. But the more we show support for each other, including the community, for the board, the better off our community is going to be.
Thank you. Any other citizen here tonight wishing to address the board?
This might be Lynn Drive. The thing about the firefighter tonight kind of bothers me. Maybe next time if we see a big crowd coming in, we can have somebody at the door, okay, we gotta stop, or we gotta move at that point. Not halfway through the meeting. And, we got few people in this township that are just really causing a lot of trouble. If they could take all that negative and turn it into positive, they'd be some pretty awesome people. They really would.
You as a board, you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. You guys have had a ton of situations because of what's going on with these other people, but you guys just keep it up, you're doing a good job, and thank you.
Appreciate that. Anyone else wishing to address the board this evening?
I wouldn't vote for that.
Anyone? Anyone else? I don't see anyone else. Okay, so we'll move on to trustees' personal privilege. Trustee Dayman, anything?
No, everybody's fine tonight.
Okay. Trustee Danish. You did. Okay, trustee Hires. Okay, trustee Greenwood.
Yeah, there is just one thing that I wanted everyone to be mindful of. We are aware that the assessor is gonna be retiring at the end of the year.
Stacy, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
Speak up.
The assessor is going to be retiring at the end of the year. So trustee Beamish and I have been working together to figure out a plan as well as a contract for the zoning administrator. So those will be potential items moving forward and kind of developing a plan of action for her replacement. So I just wanted everyone to be aware of that.
Okay, announcement by, chairperson or elected official, clerk Veronica.
Nothing.
Okay. Treasurer Miller.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Supervisor announcements, I wanted to mention that, Mr. Van Gopen had said something about restricting social media. I don't really believe that we've restricted social media. We use our social media platform. Okay, maybe I misinterpreted. I'm talking right now. Social media that we're using here at the township is Facebook. And what we found at the very beginning was that some of the comments on Facebook, we have like 5-6 people in the office who can't monitor that all the time. And what initially happened with it when we set it up was that we were having people who were using profanities and it ended up just being garbage. And it was not it didn't reflect well on the township. So now we have limited comments, there's no comments. You can use your emoji to like it or hate it or whatever, cry about it. But there's no comments other than pushing out information from our end. We found that that's the best way to push it out. And so we'll try to get announcements up there. But again, we don't have a communications director, we're a small operation. So that's why some people feel that their First Amendment has been violated because we're not allowing them to speak on our public platform. It's used for informational purposes only. You're free to disparage us on yours, but you're not free to do that on the platform that's ours. In terms of documents, and we've been inundated with FOIAs. FOIAs, just, and it certainly is your right to FOIA any information. But again, small operation, very small operation, and so when the clerk has to focus on getting and responding to all these FOIAs, I'm telling you, she's not able to do the rest of her work. That affects everyone else in this township. Everyone else, whether you know it or not, that impedes the work of the township. So when we say, and the clerk says, I do not have those records in my possession, I can tell you, she does not have those records in her possession. Now, if they're on a server, we'll have to hire the IT people to come and find the things on the server. I know that my computer, which had been the previous supervisor's computer, and I believe the previous supervisor's computer, former supervisor's computer, I can only find things back to 2020. So they're probably on a server. We don't have the knowledge to how to do that. So if they are, we'll have to search for that. That will be an added charge. So you can't give documents that you don't have. No one in this township, no board official is hiding any information. Nothing. So you can narrate that into videos, you can get people all excited about it, or certain people excited about it, but it's not true. So, if you wanna have fun with that, go have fun with it. Get your clicks, monetize your social media. But in the meantime, 9,000 other people in Bedford they're not getting the same services that they should have. And that's a problem. So, and with that being said, one positive thing, the city of Battle Creek did want me to let you know, and there are some of these out there, these rain barrel sales that they're putting on now, and why are rain barrels important. This is for the whole clean water issue, that it lowers the amount of stormwater runoff, especially in urban areas. It helps prevent soil erosion, saves rainwater for later use on indoor plants, and money saved on electricity and water bills. So, and it's a nice project, and they're actually very attractive. So if you wanna order one, grab one of the ones that are out on the table out there. Okay, and seeing no other business before the board, we will adjourn at 8:35. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.